let me share the screen. Okay, so we are on page 12, Krishna, the Reservoir of Pleasure, chapter 1. Okay, so before we start, let's say our prayers. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai. Okay. So we'll start reading. According to his last karma or action, one gets this body to enjoy or to suffer. That is the process of birth and death. And after finishing this life, again one dies, and again one enters into the womb of another mother. Another type of body then comes out. This is the process of reincarnation. So, what is this saying? Do we all believe that there is only one life, or do we believe like we have come in the past and we are not going to be, this is not it, it continues and we have to come back again, right? Something that is like a next birth or a rebirth or a reincarnation.
Yeah.
Right? Because it has to be, because people think that there is only one life, but the fact that they don't think is, when I have this one life, so if they believe that is the only life, then why is there so much difference? Why is there some people are so, up, in their assets, or why there is so much inequality? Basically, there is some people are rich, some people are poor, some people are even below the poverty, and then some people are very intelligent, extremely intelligent, some people are not so intelligent. Then beauty, right? And then strength, some people are very powerful. So why is there so much inequality, right? The fact that when we are coming into these lives, when we have certain things that are, we can't change to a certain extent, or these things that come by nature in our birth, right? Like we can't change the way we look, we can't change the way we the intelligence. So these are awarded, right? These are given, right? So the fact that there is so much inequality in this, that means there is something even before the birth, right? And when we say there is something before the birth, that means there was previous birth, right? So the process of reincarnation, that's what Prabhupada is stressing here. And that is based on our karma. We should be very diligent as to how we can discontinue this process of repeated birth and death and change of body. That is a prerogative of the human form of life. We can stop this process of repeated change through birth and death. We can get our actual spiritual form again and be blissful, full of knowledge and eternal life. That is the purpose of evolution. We should not miss it. The entire process of liberation begins just as we have now begun the chanting and hearing. I wish to point out that this chanting of the holy name of the God. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, are hearing the truth, and hearing the truths of the Gita is as good as bodily association with Krishna. This is stated in Gita. The process is called kirtan. Even if one does not understand the language, still just by hearing and acquiring some pity, some piety, his assets lead him to the pious life, even if he does not understand it as has such power. Okay, so we all know, right, about chanting. At least if we cannot even, make it back, purify ourselves completely, but at least, whatever we do, Krishna says that it doesn't get lost. We start our next journey of, onwards from where we have left off. Okay, so who would like to read a little bit? Manhar, you want to read? Okay, Jyotsna, you want to read first?
Okay, Mataji. From there are two topics concerning Krishna, two kinds of topics actually. One topic is this Bhagavad Gita. It is spoken by Krishna, and the other topic concerning Krishna is Srimad Bhagavatam. That is spoken about Krishna. So there are two types of Krishna Katha topics, and both of them are equally potent because they are connected with Krishna. Because the Bhagavad Gita is spoken on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, some people have asked what we have to do with the battlefield. We have nothing to do with any battlefield. We are after knowledge of the spiritual sphere. Then why should we bother about this battlefield? Because Krishna is on the battlefield, and therefore the whole battlefield has become Krishnized. Just as when an electric current is passed into some metal, the whole metal becomes surcharged with electricity. So too, when Krishna is interested in some matter, that matter becomes Krishnized. Otherwise, there would be no need of discussing the battlefield of Kurukshetra, that is his omnipotence. This omnipotence is also described in Srimad Bhagavatam. There are many Krishna kathas. The Vedic literature is full of them. Vedas mean that they are Krishna kathas. Scripture, including the Vedas, may appear to be different, but they are all meant for Krishna katha. If we simply hear these topics on Krishna, then what will be the result? It is pure transcendental vibration, and the result will be spiritual consciousness. We have accumulated many inauspicious things within our heart due to our material contamination during the course of many births, not only the births, but past births as well. So when we search into our heart with the Krishna Katha, then the contamination we have accumulated will be washed off. Our hearts will be cleansed of all rubbish, and as soon as all the rubbish is cleared off, then we are situated in pure consciousness. It is very difficult to
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, Mataji. It is very difficult to eradicate all the false designations from oneself. For example, I am Indian. It is not very easy to immediately think that I am not Indian. But pure soul, similarly, it is not a very easy task for anyone to end his identification with these bodily designations. But still, if we continue hearing the Krishna Katha, it will be very easy. Make an experiment. Make an experiment to see how easily you'll be able to free yourself from all these designations. Of course, it is not possible to clear out the rubbish from the mind all of a sudden, but we are immediately aware of that the influence of the material nature has become slackened. The material nature.
So this is talking about, Prabhupada is talking about hearing. hearing, chanting. So Shravanam, Kirtanam. So these are actually what? These are the one of the 9 limbs of the bhakti, or to say, to purify ourselves, the processes that are given for our purification. And when it comes to Krishna Katha, when it comes to listening or hearing about the Lord, then it is not different from the Lord, right? Because it's absolute. Krishna's name is not different. His dham is not different. His leelas are not different. So these are all, not just processes, but actually this is direct association of Krishna. That's what Prabhupada is emphasizing on these continuously, on 3 paragraphs continuously. We are reading this, and Prabhupada is emphasizing on about Krishna Katha, about hearing about Lord Krishna. Very nice. Yes, go ahead, Josna. Continue for a few more paragraphs maybe, and then we can have Mehika read.
Okay, the material nature is working in 3 modes: goodness, passion, and ignorance. Ignorance is hopeless life. Passion is materialistic. One who is influenced by the modes of passion wants this false enjoyment of material existence because he does not know the truth. He wants to squeeze out the energy of the body just to enjoy this matter. That is called the mode of passion. As for those in the mode of ignorance, they have neither passion nor goodness. They are in the deepest darkness of life, situated in the mode of goodness. We can understand, at least theoretically, that I am what is the world, what this world is, what God is, and what our inter
Interrelationship.
interrelationship is. This is the mode of goodness. By hearing Krishna Katha, we will be freed from the stages of ignorance and passion. We will be situated in the mode of goodness. At least we'll have the real knowledge of what we are. Ignorance is like the animal existence. The animal's life is full of suffering, but the animal does not know that he is suffering. Take the case of a hog. Of course, there here in New York City, no hog is seen, but in villages in India, one sees the hog. Oh, how miserable his life is, living in a filthy place, eating stools, and always unclean. But the hog is very happy by eating stools and having constant sexual intercourse with the she-hog and just getting fat. The hog gets very fat because of the spirit of enjoyment which is there, although for him it is essential enjoyment. We should not be like the hog, falsely thinking that we are very happy, working hard all day and night, then having some sex life. We think that in this way we are very happy, but this is not happiness. This has been described in Bhagavatam as a hog's happiness. Man's happiness is when he is situated in the mode of goodness, then he can understand what true happiness is.
Yes, very nice. So important point, right? If we understand this, our whole perspective to the life could change. We do everything for happiness, right? We do everything for happiness to achieve. We go to school so that we want some comfortable and good life, to be able to earn money, and to have family and all that. But what is all that intended for? Just for happiness and comforting ourselves, right? Now think of it. What Prabhupada is emphasizing here, if there is these 3 modes, right? There are 3 modes: goodness, passion, and ignorance. Passion is materialistic way of life. Ignorance is, Prabhupada is saying, is a life like an animal, right? Completely in dark. So at least we should try to come into the mode of goodness when we are in this human body. We have, or should we just, enjoy just life? Then that's what Prabhupada is saying, that this enjoyment that, we think get from these things, or, whatever, these are like the happiness even the hogs get. So what is the difference between the two? So, the happiness, the real happiness Prabhupada is describing here, man's real happiness is situated in the mode of goodness. Very important point. This is how we understand real happiness, where the real happiness is. Okay, very nice. Yes, Manahar or Mihika, can one of you read? Okay, maybe Mihika can read, and after that, Manahar can read. Mihika, you want to read?
Yes, Mataji. Where do I start, Mataji?
In our daily routine,
In our daily routine, if we hear this Krishna Katha, the result will be that all the dirty things in the heart, accumulated life after life, will be cleared out. As a matter of fact, we will see that we are no longer in ignorance or in passion, but we are situated in a mode of goodness. What is that position? We will find ourselves joyful in every circumstance of life. We will never feel morose. In the Bhagavad Gita, we find that this is our Brahma Bhuta, highest stage of goodness situation. The Vedas teach us that we are not this matter, we are Brahman. Aham Brahmasmi. Lord
Shankaracharya.
Sankaracharya preached this gospel to the world. We are not this matter, we are Brahman spirit. When spiritual realization is actually accomplished, then our symptoms will change. What are those symptoms? When one is situated in his own spiritual consciousness, then he will have no hankering and no lamentation. Lamentation is for loss and hankering is for gain. Two diseases characterize this material world. What we do not possess, we hanker after. If I get these things, I'll be happy. I have no money, but if I get $1 million and then I'll be happy. And when we have $1 million, somehow it will be lost. But so we'll cry, oh, I have lost it. When we hanker for earning, that is a kind of distress. And when we suffer loss, that is also distress. But if we are situated in Brahma Bhuta, we will neither be distressed or will we hanker. We view equally everyone and everything. Even if we are situated in the midst of fiery turbulence, we will not be disturbed. That is the mode of goodness.
Yeah. So the how we live in these different modes, right? Prabhupada is pointing the mode of goodness, the mode of passion, and the mode of ignorance. How when we are living in all these different modes, how our life is. So ultimately, when we are in the mode of goodness, these whatever hardships or things come, still person is not disturbed with this fiery turbulence. That's the main thing, that's the first thing, actually, not main thing, that's the first thing, that person engaged in the transcendental service of the Lord, in devotional service and bhakti. That's the byproduct that comes with it, that the person is freed from the miseries slowly, gradually. All these go away, or at least even if they come, the person is still not disturbed by those things. So that's what Prabhupada is describing here. Okay, keep reading, Mihika.
So, Mataji, I continue reading.
Yes, Bhagavatam
Okay.
means.
Bhagavatam means the science of God. If the science of God is preserved in, we will be situated in the Brahma Bhuta status. From that Brahma Bhuta status, we have to work, for work is recommended here. So as long as we have this material body, we have to work. We cannot stop working. It is not possible, but we have to adopt to the tactic, tactics of yoga, and in this way, even by doing some ordinary work which by destiny or circumstances we are put into, there is no harm. Suppose that in one's own occupation one must speak a lie, or his business can't go on. Lying is not a very good thing, so one concludes that the business is not based more on very moral principles, and one should therefore give it up. In the Bhagavad Gita, however, we find instruction not to give it up, even if we are put in such circumstances that our livelihood cannot go on with some unfair practice, we should not give it up, but we should try to make it purified.
Mhm.
How is it purified? We should not take the fruitive result of our work that is meant for God.
Yeah. Yes. Very nice. Okay. Thanks, Mihika. Manohar, you want to read next? Sukrita means.
Okay, Mataji. Sukrita means pious activities, and Sukrita means impious activities. On the material level, we can be pious or impious. Either we are performing some pious activities, or we are performing some unpious activities, or we may have a mixture, pious and unpious. Lord Krishna advises that we should act with knowledge of or devotion to the Lord Supreme. What does that knowledge mean? It means that I am the part and parcel of the Supreme Consciousness, or that I am not this body. If I identify myself as an American, as an Indian, or this or that, then I'm not on the material. Then I'm on the material plane. We should identify ourselves as neither Americans nor Indians, but as pure consciousness. And I am a subordinate consciousness of the supreme consciousness. And in other words, I am the servant of God. God is the supreme consciousness, and I am his servant. So for our present understanding, subordinate means servant.
Yeah. Continue, Manohar. We don't ordinarily carry.
Do I read more?
Yes.
Oh yeah. We don't ordinarily carry out the work of a servant in relationship to God. No, nobody wants to be a servant, but everyone wants to be the master, because to become a servant is not very palatable thing. But to become the servant of God is not exactly like this. Sometimes the servant of God becomes the master of God. The real position of the living entity is to be the servant of God. But in the Bhagavad Gita, we can see that the master Krishna becomes the servant of Arjuna. Arjuna is sitting in the chariot and Krishna is his driver. Arjuna is not the owner of the chariot, but in the supreme relationship, we should not cling to the concept of the material relationship. Although the whole relationship, just as we have experience of it in this world, is there in the spiritual world, that relationship is not contaminated by it's called
Mhm.
matter. Therefore, it is pure and transcendental. It is of a different nature. As we become advanced in the supreme conception of life, we can understand that, that what the actual position in the spiritual transcendental world is. Here the Lord instructs us in Buddhi Yoga. Buddhi Yoga means that we have full consciousness that we are not this body, and if I act with this understanding, then I am not the body. I am consciousness. That is fact. Now, if we act on level of consciousness, then we can overcome the fruitive result of good work or bad work. It is a transcendental state.
Thank you. So here, one thing Prabhupada is saying about the relationship, right? Relationship. Who are we? We are meant to serve the Lord. And who is Lord? Lord is the supreme. Now, when it comes to Prabhupada is pointing this out, and we all have to understand that servant means we think just like something Prabhupada is saying, it's not palatable, right? But in spiritual world, that's not the case, because everything we are here seeing is opposite, right? In spiritual world, there is also Arjuna is also serving the Lord and on that spiritual plane, right? But what is that relationship? Is it really like, you know, like in the can we view the same in the same eyes, or in, you know, what vision that we have for a servant and a master? No, the relationship between Krishna and Arjuna, you know, although Arjuna is serving and Krishna is still the master, but see how the relationship is. Krishna is at the feet of Arjuna, and Arjuna is the chariot driver, right? So that also doesn't mean that Krishna becomes a servant. No, that doesn't mean, by no means it means that. But there is a strong bond of love. That bond of love, Lord says that, there is something that, a devotee can, even bound the Lord by is with that bond of love. So that is the relationship of a servant and a master. We have to understand why Krishna is master, because he's supreme. He's the originator. He's the proprietor of ours. So we are meant to give him pleasure, but at the same time, how is that bond that's tied up with the bond of love? That is the relationship. That's the real vision of. That's the true nature of the love of, the nature of the relationship, basically, between the servant and the master on the spiritual vision. So that's something very important to notice. Okay, so it means that we are acting on another account. So let's see, Omkar, you want to read?
Yes, Mataji. It means that we are acting on another's account, on the Supreme's account. We are not liable to loss or gain. When there is gain, we should not be puffed up. We should think this gain is for the Lord. And when there is loss, we should know that this is not our responsibility. It is God's work, His. Then we will be happy. This we have to practice everything on account of the Supreme. This transcendental nature we have to develop. This is the trick of doing work under these present circumstances. As soon as we work on the level of bodily consciousness, we become bound by the reaction of our work. But when we work through spiritual consciousness, we are not bound either by pious activities or by vicious activities. That is the technique.
Continue.
Manishina, this word is very significant. Manishin means thoughtful. Unless one is thoughtful, he cannot understand that he is not this body. But if one is a little thoughtful, he can understand, oh, I am not this body. I am consciousness. Sometimes in our leisure time, we can see, oh, this is my finger, and this is my hand, this is my ear, and this is my nose. Everything is mine. But what I am feeling this is mine, and that I am. Simply little thought is required. Everything is mine. My eyes, my finger, my hand, my. And what is the I? The I is that consciousness in which I am thinking this is mine.
Very nice. Continue.
Now if I am for this body, I should act for myself. Then how can I work for myself? What is my position? I'm consciousness, but what kind of consciousness? Subordinate consciousness. I am part of the Supreme Consciousness. Then what will my activities be? My activities will be under the guidance of the Supreme Consciousness. Just as in the office, the managing director is the Supreme Consciousness. For example, in the office, everybody is working under the direction of the manager. Therefore, they have no responsibility. They have only to discharge their duties, either pious or impious duties. Never mind, in the military line, to the order of the captain or the commander is there. And the soldier has to execute it.
Continue. He does not consider whether.
He does not consider whether it is pious or impious. That does not matter. He simply has to act. When he is a real then he is a real soldier. He acts in that way and he gets his reward. He gets title and honor. He doesn't care. The commander says, just go and kill the enemy and he is rewarded. Do you think that by killing one gets reward? No, it is for the duty discharged. Similarly, here the situation is that Krishna is instructing Arjuna. Krishna is the supreme consciousness. I am consciousness, the part and parcel of the supreme consciousness. So my duty is to act according to the supreme consciousness. For example, I consider my hand as a part of my body. Now it is moving in its own way as I want. Let my hand be moved. Let my legs be moved. Let my eyes be opened and see. So I am dictating and these parts are working. Similarly, we are all parts and parcels of the Supreme. When we train ourselves to move and act in accordance with Supreme Consciousness, then we become transcendental to all these pious or impious activities. That is the technique. What will the result of this technique be? We become free from the bondage of birth and death. No more birth and death.
Yeah, very nice. Thank you. Okay. Okay, let's go a second round of reading again. Jyotsna, can you read some modern scientists and philosophers?
Okay, Mataji. Modern scientists and philosophers do not think about these four things: birth, death, disease, and old age. They set them aside. Oh, let us be happy. Let us enjoy this life. But human life is meant for finding a solution to this bondage of birth, death, disease, and old age. If any civilization has has not found a solution to these four problems, then that is not a human civilization. Human civilization is meant to finding a complete solution to these things. So here in the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says, Karmajam Buddhi Yukta. Karmajam means whenever there is action, there will be some reaction. If one acts in badness, there will be a bad reaction. But a reaction, either good or bad, is the higher sense of suffering. Suppose that by good action I get a good birth, fine bodily features, and a good education. All these good things I may have, but that does not mean that I am free from material pains. The material pains are birth, death, old age, and disease. Even if I am a rich man, a beautiful man, an educated man, born in an aristocratic family, etc., I still cannot avoid death, old age, and disease. So we must not be concerned with the pious activities or impious activities. We must be concerned with transcendental activities only. That will save us from this bondage of birth, death, old age, and disease. That should be our aim in life. We should not be hankering after good or bad things. For example, suppose one is suffering from some disease. He is lying in bed, eating, passing nature's call uncomfortably, and taking bitter medicines. He always has to be kept clean by the nurses. Otherwise, there is an obnoxious smell. While he is lying in this condition, some friends come to him and ask how he is feeling. Yes, I am feeling fine. What is this? Well, lying in bed uncomfortably, taking bitter medicine, and unable to move. Yet, despite all these inconveniences, he says, I am well. Similarly, in our material conception of life, if we think I am happy, that is foolishness. There is no happiness in material life. It is impossible to have happiness here. In this condition, we do not know the meaning of happiness. That's why this very word is used manisinaha, thoughtful. We see happiness by some external artifactual um artificial means, but how long does it last? It will not endure. We again come back to sorrow. Suppose by intoxication we feel happy. That is not our actual happiness. Suppose I am made unconscious by chloroform, and I don't feel the pain of an operation. That does not mean that I am not having an operation. This is artificial. Real pleasure, real life exists as as is commanded in Bhagavad Gita by Sri Krishna. The thoughtful give up the reaction of work, being situated on the level of pure consciousness. The result is this bondage of birth and death. disease and old age comes to an end. This end is in union with the true identity, Krishna, thus reservoir of pleasure and eternal bliss. There indeed is the true happiness for which we are intended.
Yeah, very nice. Thank you, Jyotsna. So this ends the chapter. What was the last few things Prabhupada is saying in this chapter? Prabhupada is saying about when we are in this, this human body, he's pointing that we think, advancement and civilization, but then, what happens is we just go behind in the name of civilization, doing something that is wrong. We do not, we kind of go or tend to go on the path of unrighteousness, right? So Prabhupada is saying we have to see in the right vision what is good, right? The main thing is to come out of this cycle of birth, death, disease, and death, disease, old age, and disease and death. Old age, Prabhupada is pointing here, right? That how difficult it is, right? And we still think, oh, I'm happy. Right? Still, even we come to that point of old age, still we think I'm happy. Still, we don't want to give up that body, even if we are so much suffering. See, that's the consciousness. We have to understand that this body, maybe, it's where we have to give up at some point today, tomorrow, or whenever it comes. So, but the journey of the soul is never stopping. It is continuing because soul is eternal. And it only will be the right use of this material body that we have is if we elevate ourselves, and go behind the real happiness versus this whatever so-called we think that happiness is in this world. This is an artificial. Prabhupada is saying this is artificial. The real pleasure is real life exists. Okay, so this ends the chapter. There is in this PDF, there is second chapter to it, Who is Crazy, which is an essay written by Srila Prabhupada, our dear most Srila Prabhupada. This is not part of this book that we are reading. Krishna, the Reservoir of Pleasure, has only one chapter. We finished that. It's a very small book. But since this essay is very nice as it is written by Prabhupada, so we'll continue reading this essay for today, at least how much ever we can. And the next class, we will move on to our next book. So for the remainder of the class, we will continue reading into this essay. Okay. Who is crazy? This is the second chapter or topic on this. Let's see. Mihika is not here. So Manahari, you want to read some, just a little bit, and then Omkar also will read after that.
Okay. Lord Shri Krishna says, My dear Arjuna, there are different classes of men. One class of men, they're sleeping, and another class of men, they're awake, and they are not sleeping. And how's this so? This chanting which we have performed just now is the awakening process for the sleeping soul. The soul is sleeping, covered by his material body. These bodily activities are in the sleeping state, just as we see dreams in the sleeping stage. Similarly, all these bodily activities are dreams. Just take for, just think for, just think for yourself. How many incidents have there been in your past life? If you think of them, they will appear just like dreams. At least for myself, this is the case. I was born in India, educated and married. Then I had very good days with my wife. Got some children, some of whom died, some of whom are living, some of whom are married now. Have begotten children. All this occurred in my past life. Now it is all a dream. I have no connection with it. Similarly, in dreams, I sometimes find that I have become a king. Oh, there are so many riches, so much opulence. Then, as soon as the dream is over, I come home and all is gone. So actually, these bodily activities, which we are now engaged in are not our actual life. Therefore, the Vedic mantra said, "O human race, please wake up. Just utilize the opportunity which you have now, which you now have. You have a special opportunity. And what is that? This human form of life. Utilize it. Don't waste it. Don't go on sleeping. This very matter, this very same matter was taken up by Sri Krishna. Those who are accustomed to the yoga process know this. The first principle of the yoga process is to control the senses. This is so this is so for every process. In any bona fide process of for spiritual realization, the first principle is to control the senses. Um
This is because,
Okay, this is because the senses are driving us into the darkest region of life, but we do not realize this.
yes, very nice. So Prabhupada is pointing the temporary nature, temporary aspect. When we are young, we aspire for so many things, and gradually when we are in the mid-age, we start, you know, accomplishing those things. And, we feel that, okay, we feel happy with those accomplishments. But then Prabhupada is pointing, it's just matter of time. By the time it will all be gone. Prabhupada is pointing to his own life, right? His own life. He had a family, he had, he was doing things, and where is, Prabhupada is saying, where am I now? I have no connection. They all have the family later on, they have their own children, and then, they have their own things, and there's no connection, right? Prabhupada did not feel that connection, that he was so, just that for what it gives us and is a glimpse of temporariness of this things that we go behind. Hmm? So Prabhupada is saying that's why we need to wake up. We need to wake up. That means not just like we are sleeping on the bed. So we need to wake up means we need to wake up to see what the reality is. Hmm? That's what Prabhupada is saying here. Very nice. Thank you, Manohar. Okay, Omkar, you want to read a little bit? In the Srimad Bhagavatam.
Yes, Mataji. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a nice verse. It says, first, man is too much addicted to this materialistic way of life. The materialistic way of life involves eating, drinking, making merry, and enjoying. That's it. That's all. Have very good food, sleep well, and defend yourself, so that enemies may not enter into your country or into your home, and have sexual enjoyment to your heart's content. This is the materialistic way of life, but persons who are so sleeping do not realize that their real self-interest is different. A real self-interest is that we must know of our lost relationship with the Supreme Absolute Truth. The Supreme Absolute Truth is realized from different angles of vision, as impersonal Brahman, or localized Supersoul, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. One who realizes the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, automatically understands the other two features, but one who has approached only the impersonal feature of the Supreme Absolute Truth has no information of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. Now, here in the Bhagavad Gita, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is present before you. Here is the picture of Sri Krishna with his eternal consort Srimati Radharani. His pleasure potency in this material world, the reflection of Sri Krishna and his pleasure potency exists pervertedly, as one can see in the picture. Sri Krishna is always consorting with Srimati Radharani. His features are described in Vedic literature. He stands in a very nice curved posture, blowing his flute. The picture is not drawn from artistic imagination. It is the descriptive painting from the Vedic literature. This description is in the Vedic literature. So in the material.
Yeah.
So in the material.
Go ahead, Omkar.
So in the material world, there is the perverted reflection of Sri Krishna's pastime with Radharani. It is not sex life as we have it, although it appears to be like that. It is transcendental, but that which we are after here, that is real. A young man wants a young woman, and a young woman wants a young man. This is natural. This is not artificial. It is natural because we are all parts and parcel of that supreme being, Krishna. His attitude is in me because I am his part and parcel, just as the quality of God is present in the minute particles of gold. The chemical composition of gold is 100% present in a small particle of gold. Qualitatively, therefore, the enjoyment which we want between man and woman is not a perversion of love and friendship. It is simply a perverted reflection. The real enjoyment is awakened in association with the Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna. It is the same pleasure, but is in its pure form. That same bliss is there for you. But don't become entangled in this perverted form of enjoyment. Don't remain asleep. Don't remain in this dreaming condition. Have the real thing. Awaken from the dream that is the message of the Vedas.
Very nice. Thank you. Thank you, Omkar. So we will pause here and we'll continue into our next Friday's reading. So we'll do the next book. I'll see on the list which book is that. But so far we have finished 4 books. Okay. So let's see. We have just maybe 2-3 minutes if anybody wants to ask anything or share anything. Okay, so we'll say our prayers and then we can end. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyev cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namo. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Okay, so we'll end here. We'll continue next week. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.